everybody. Welcome to Drink Up Live podcast. It's just my good friend Adam Smith. And by the way, Adam, I don't know if I told you this. My mom's maiden name is Smith,
Ah,
so we're probably related somewhere. I don't know if your family
I'm
hails
sure
from
we
that.
are. I'm sure that's hilarious.
We're, we're,
Well,
we're all related.
you
What's
know
that?
this, but my wife's last name, her maiden name is Johnson, so that was the joke that she was going from like the third most common last name in the world to the second or some shit when we got married. So yeah, it's just generic names all around.
Yeah, Anderson, Smith,
Uh-huh.
Johnson.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
We I don't even know what nationality Smith is, but my grandfather, Council, was a Smith. But welcome
Council
everybody.
Smith.
What's that?
His name was Council Smith.
Hansel Smith. Yes.
That's badass. That's a good name. Anyway, go ahead.
He was badass, man. I can tell you, he was on a pool hall in Bradenton, Florida, called the Bradenton Recreation Center, and he made hamburgers and sold beer. And you
That's
know how he
amazing.
won he won the pool hall, by the way.
He
He
had a
didn't buy
bet,
the
I
pool hall.
assume.
A fight.
Fuck yeah.
So they went out in the back alley, and the guy was getting ready to retire. So I think it was like seven guys went in the back alley, and they fought for the bar and
That's
council won the bar.
amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. It
The
sounds like
stories.
your
What's that?
retirement plan, Sam. You just go back to doing what Grandpa did. You run a pool hall.
I actually had a dream to do that. My uncle Lawton actually ran it for several years and eventually sold the pool hall to someone that wanted to dress it up and make it all fancy and stuff. And it happened during COVID. And guess what happened to the pool hall?
Oh, it's shut down. Sure.
It shut down. It doesn't
Yeah.
exist anymore, which is
Yeah.
really sad because he was known as the Hamburger King of Bradenton, Florida. Matter of fact, Pittsburgh Pirates would go in there and have hamburgers. So, and then the attorneys from the courthouse across the street would go in there.
Sure.
The whole bit, the stories that the pool hall could tell you, and then you had like this
Sure.
in the front where he had like different things, like his whistle from World War II, or this jar with a rattlesnake in it, and rattlers and coins and all this
Sure.
kind of cool stuff. But
Sure.
council's like, if you want some chili, a beer, and some chips, great. You know, and it was not messing around, right? But
Sure.
people had a nice business, but he wanted in a fight. And
That's
a little
hilarious.
bit. So maybe we should just talk about like some of our sponsors real quick, and we can kind of get in it this morning.
Yeah.
Sorry, I digressed. I always have to call out Jay Williams and
What up, Jay?
Freebird. Yeah, we love Jay, and you'll always, even if you don't want to sponsor us, we're just going to make you sponsor us. So, but we love Freebird and everything that Jay represents a whole bit. And then calling out Alicia Vargo, my business partner and owner. Adam Smith's recording will continue on a new track. All right, cool. You're on a new track.
Weird.
But thanks, Bev Assets, for sponsoring us today. Bev Assets helps customers or helps suppliers find distribution and customers and many more things. And then Adam, Alias Advising,
Alias
operational
advising.
expert, right? What do you do?
Oh God, I tell stories. The short version is funny. I was talking to a gentleman about this week. 'Cause we had a good conversation. He was actually an introduction from our friend Tiffany Putland over with Smart Start, her and her husband
Yeah.
Kurt. So hello, Tiffany. And if you don't know her and Kurt, I suggest you do. They're good people. Um, yeah, it was just a referral from her, and she said, hey, I think you guys, you might be able to have an interesting conversation. I said, okay, so. Um, and we had a first one, and we've talked a couple more times, but I'm talking to this gentleman. His name's Eric, and he goes, "I feel like you're underselling yourself." I said, well, it's because I don't really ever want to oversell myself. So yeah, uh, and I was like, well, the short version is operational project management for beverage, but the longer version is the glue, the adhesive, the bridge, the link, whatever you want to call it, right? Like all this shit has to work together, and I'm not saying I'm the best at it by any stretch. But I've been around the block enough times, and I have friends like you, and so the connections make a little bit more sense in my mind than I think they do for early stage brand owners, and so
Yeah.
that's what I do, right? I help with the ops, and then if you need a link to Sam, or you need a link to Ryan and Rox and all the things that they do outside of ops, but including ops, or God, who else? You need a link to the Eric Martindales of the world, or the Josh Arringtons or the Nate Calls. I mean, the list goes on, but that's what I do.
You're a connector.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. And I guess we should call it Rocks and Ryan. We invited him here today, but I think he said he had a softball. I don't think he's playing softball today with this weather, but possibly.
Well, I was gonna say they're that whole part of the country is just. I mean, it's funny because everybody, we get on the. And I know this happens to you. We get on the phone with people and they're like, "How's it up in Minnesota?" I'm like, "It's fine." Like, isn't it cold? Yeah, but we have all the toys for dealing with it.
Yeah,
You don't.
It's a daily occurrence here, man. I mean, matter of fact,
Right.
I think when someone says, "I'm like it's 25 today, I'm going to go for a walk," I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's like a balmy 25. I'm going to be out there going for a walk." Well, let's get into it. Again, Robert, good morning. I did do the video that will post around 12 noon today. By the way, to talk about, I don't know, because FOTL, I can't remember what it was, but you're probably going to reply back to me. But yes, the Pirates in Bradenton, Florida, a lot of history there, by the way. When I played baseball in high school, to let you know, a lot of Pirates actually coached us. To let you know, they would come over to our school and work with us. And I wasn't a great baseball player, so don't let me lead you to believe that. But I tried. First base, outfield, and I was a pitcher and a catcher throughout my life, from all the way from Kiwanis League to Little League, and then I obviously played tennis all my life, and then I went back to baseball my freshman year in high school for about a year and gave it a go, but that was the extent of my baseball career. So this morning, Adam, I posted a couple things out there. I don't know if you saw it, but I wanted to talk about something that's been on my mind. Is about when brands come to market. We're getting into it a little bit today. They all expect, or many expect, that they're going to scale it and sell it in about 9 months to 3 years. And it's just not reality. Maybe some do. I mean, certainly some brands punch through, but it's just not a reality. And also, there's a high failure rate with brands. But I wanted to talk about some ideas there. And then the second piece I want to talk about operationally from your standpoint, when a brand comes to market and it goes into a can or a bottle, the distillate, the whole bit. Because this last week I've been talking to a lot of people. We do like these 1 month to 3 month sprints, Alicia and I do. We do these commercial plans. Matter of fact, there's a few people I need to connect you up with. And I get into the cost of goods. And it's really fucking scary. So I'm looking at can prices, and can prices like $1.50, $1.65, and then I start to equate that, and I put that in like $1.50 times 4. Then there's the distributor margin, there's the retail margin, and then there's the competitive set on the shelf, right? I'm looking at the damn can at $1.50, right? And I'm looking at this founder. I'm like, look, you got to be $14.99 to be competitive on the shelf, and they get pissed. Like, I can't do that. I'm like, well, I don't know what, you're not going to probably get a chance in the marketplace if you're not at that price. So you got to either get your cost of goods down, or you got to plan to lose money the next 2 to 3 years to get your volume up to meet the market. I'm not saying that there's not people that punch through. Then they throw the Tip Top cocktails at me. Like, well, Tip Top's at, this price. I'm like, yeah, it's a specialty item and it's a small can. I said, go small then. Right. Do something different in the marketplace. So I wanted to kind of get into like cost of goods, cans. Matter of fact, one came up last week. We've actually connected you with this client actually. She had some cans out of New York. I'll just give you a hint who that is.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
And she doesn't have a date on it, thank God, because we want to move those cans, right? Yep. But then she was trying to decide, is it good for a year, 18 months? The whole bit, what happens with that. So I wanted to kind of get into that. And then the third piece we could talk about, you and I have talked to Jared Lane. I invited him here today. I actually invited a few people, but everybody turned me down. That's okay. So strike three, Robert, strike three for me. But anyway, Safety Sip. I want to talk about Safety Sip a little bit. I just want to get into it a little bit. He is still battling to get that thing rolling.
Sure.
He's talking. I'm in a group with him, and I'd love to help him. But basically, what Safety Sip is, and we'll get into it. But basically, this gentleman made like this plastic ring, that's food grade, I think. As a matter of fact, I just cut my hand. But you go to keep you from cutting your hand, what I just did, by the way. But for safety, so when people, there's people he cuts pretty minimal, but it's actually pretty cool. But he puts it on the lip and then on the thing, and he has a patent to it. And he's trying to find someone to actually produce this safety sip for safety. So I'm curious on that. So maybe we get into it in terms of the flow here. So why don't you ask me some questions about my first subject about how brands are built, and then we'll reverse and I'll ask you questions about operations. Does that work?
Yeah. Well, so I think, and it's funny. My version of this, and I think this tracks. I hope it does. Is like, especially, I think I've had enough coffee now, so I'm a little teed up. I think in all aspects of the business, but especially in sales, right? There's this, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but there's this assumption from brand owners that, like, for example, if you put, because we were talking about this a little bit before we got on, if you put a scope in front of them that said, I, Sam, or I, as Sam's team, commit to, having this many conversations a week, visiting this many stores a week, doing this many samplings a week, like, that's very trackable and measurable deliverables, right? Like, it's not sexy, right? It's very day in, day out, grindy kind of work, but it's an actionable plan. On the flip side, if you were to write a scope, or anybody in your shoes that says, like, hey, we're going to get you in X number of accounts in 30 days, that's sexy as hell. It also sounds exactly like the, one weird trick fat loss bullshit that you see online, right? Like, there's no magic bullet, there's no magic pill, there's no, like, hey, do this one thing and then all your problems will go away. But I think brands, and I'm putting words in your mouth, I think brands take that same mindset into working with somebody like you. And so I guess my question that comes with that is, like, how are you looking at reframing the way you have conversations with people to try and set that expectation early on?
Yeah, so let me take that, but let me do a shout out. First of all, Jennifer Howe, thank you so much for joining. That just made my heart warm. So bring them some questions. We're here every week, Jennifer, and I need to get down to Orlando and break bread with you again soon. I'll be at MBWA soon as well. And then Robert, obviously, thank you for joining us as always, and we'll get into some of your commentary. To answer your question, we were talking about it earlier. When I started this journey 3 years ago as an entrepreneur, the conversation was much different than it is today with many of the clients that we talked to. I was probably the person that told them what they wanted to hear.
Okay,
from day
sure.
one. Oh, sure, I can get you in 30 accounts in 30 days. We would look at these KPIs, and that comment does a disservice to the client. We can have so the difference is we can have a goal to get the 30 accounts. We can do like 0 to 3, 3 to 6, 6 to 12.
Mm-hmm.
Fine. So the conversation now is it's about activity, and you said it. It's about conversion. So we actually created a company called Frontline Beverage with New Line. Paul Henson owns New Line, and Alicia and myself do Bev Assets. We created a joint venture with about 100 sales agents across North America. But it's about activity. It's about pitches, and it's about actually going out in the wild and sitting on a bar stool, going into an account, getting a pod, a display, menu. So when we talk to our clients now, we're like, look, our partners, our sales agents, we like to call them partners, they go out in the marketplace and they pitch your brand to that packaged liquor store owner, bev manager, bartender, so on and so forth. So we talk to them about activities. We promise them 20 to 30 pitches a week. And then those pitches are pitching for a pod, a display, a menu, case. I don't have a crystal ball though, in terms of what's going to happen. But what I can guarantee you is that you're going to get communicated every week who we talked to, what account we went to, and what the outcomes were. And then that data is going to aggregate, and as a team, we're going to start to make decisions. Also can guarantee you that we'll look at your current pricing strategy, who your competitive set is, what you're currently selling, and determine okay, where are you successful and not successful? Where you're successful, those are the places we should target. And then the final thing, I'll guarantee you this, is where you win, where you're winning, let's go back and win there more because
Mm-hmm.
distribution doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
I'm answering this long time. It doesn't matter if you don't activate it. So many people get distribution with a distributor and they disappear.
Mm-hmm.
It drives me nuts. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
now that you have distribution with the distributor, you got to go work with the distributor and you got to go work the market. And if you
Uh-huh.
do those things, work the distributor, work the market, one account at a time, one bar stool at a time, you're gonna grow your brand. You won't be in the 90% of the brands that fell because you've worked your brand. The reason 90% of the brands fell is because you don't work it. Anyway, did I answer your question? I went too deep. But it's on my
No,
mind.
no, it totally does, and I think it and this is kind of, and I'm not trying to get us into the second tier prematurely, but I think it blends into the cogs conversation. And so, like for example, I spoke to a Minnesota brand, um, who I know you know, uh, but for the sake of letting them deal with their hurdles, not problems, everything's good. Their team's great. They're wonderful people, but their hurdles, their challenges, right? In private, what they shall remain nameless. Um, had a call with them this week with another local group here, and they were kind of what it's a father and son team, and the wife's involved as well. But they were kind of walking us through some of the struggles they were having, and I said, well,
See how Adam thinks when he thinks he looks the other way. By the
yeah,
way,
right,
he's thinking deep about this whole
right.
thing. So
Uh,
give me a look at the camera.
but they it's a good reminder. They were saying that they were having issues. They had done a big production because distributor had said they were going to take on X, and then that deal fell through, and so now they've got all this product and they're sitting waiting on it, right?
Right.
And trying to get it sold through. And I got looped into the conversation because they were like, well, maybe it's our cogs, maybe it's operational things. And the more they tell me the story, I'm like, guys, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I think you have a little bit of opportunity in your cogs, but your cogs actually look pretty damn good. I mean, they're south of $1. It's a non-alc brand, so it should be, but they're south of $1.
Holy
Um,
cow! Yeah, if you're
eh,
south of the dollar, you can play in the arena, man.
right.
You're ready to go, Robert. You're at bat, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was my comment to him. I was like, guys, you're south of $1, and maybe that doesn't include free fills, maybe it doesn't include freight, but I mean, you're right there. You're flirting with a very doable cogs. Um, I said, but you're telling me you're in all these distributors, from here to neighboring states, but I'm not hearing that you have a team to go support those distribution channels. So high level, dial it back, go pitch it yourselves, stay hyper local, go get into more on-prem accounts, non-alc at bars and restaurants, offerings outside of just fucking Diet Coke. It's a simple answer, right?
Yeah.
But again, that's not the sexy answer, right? That's not the, well, we're going to go open 3 new accounts tomorrow. Okay.
Well, everybody wants to go play in the ocean, and there's the river and stream sitting out there that you should go sit in. That there's
Sure.
so many accounts, and I always talk about him, Adam Corner. Adam, you should come on, man, and talk to us. He's a wonderful person. I've talked to him a few times, done some business with him. But Adam built Carbless in Wisconsin, and he did it one account at a time, one zip code at a time, one city at a time, one community at a time, and then he went to the state. And he outsells Tito's. I don't know if it's 2 to 1 or 3 to 1, but he outsells it. And the reason he was able to do that is the accounts that he goes into, he activates those accounts.
Hmm.
He doesn't just go get some blanket distribution, you know, and
So,
call,
so
Go ahead. Sorry.
well, no. So I want to ask you, because it'll be good. Selfishly, it's good fodder for me. The people that are listening might already know this, but say, alc or non-alc. I'm talking to Joe brand owner,
Yeah.
and they're one man band, or maybe it's them and their partner, but it's a hyper small team. What's a good, like from your perspective, what's a good metric if you are the sole salesperson, or your partner, your spouse, your son is the sole salesperson? Like, what's a good metric for number of conversations to have a week? Is it 30? Is it 10? Is it 5? Like, and I know there's a lot of variables there in terms of, well, are you talking to on-prem, off-prem? Who's are you talking to the general manager? Are you talking to the bartender? But just generally speaking, if somebody asks me like, well, okay, I'm happy to go out and pitch it myself, what kind of volume do I need to be doing to get some real traction? Like, what's your perspective on that?
I learned this in insurance sales, by the way. Volume of calls, the more you do, the more are going to convert, right?
Sure. Sure.
So it depends what your target is. So insurance, we'd make 300 calls a week. 300 calls.
Sure.
That's just dialing for dollars, man. Hello, hang up, no, 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 no,
Sure.
no. Yes, I'll take an appointment. It's relentless.
Sure.
And you got to be relentless because most people don't want insurance until they need it, by the
Sure.
way. That's
Yeah.
another, we can get into that
Yep.
later on. But I say insurance because I think the number's 30.
Okay.
It's 30 calls a week. That's why at our Frontline Beverage, we ask our reps to make 30 calls a week because that's going to convert anywhere from probably, it's a low number, 1 to 5 accounts that say yes.
Sure. But I think,
Okay.
and this is why I ask, right? Because I've my I gotta quit turning. Also, I'm not trying to lay like one of your French girls. My hip is still giving me hell. For those of you who've been following my saga,
We'll go through the exercises. We'll do a podcast, and I'm going to talk about
Right.
how we can do that.
with my PT, yeah. But no, and this goes for me. This goes back to Best Buy days, selling retail or radio days and promo team shit. The rule of 10. You talk to 1,000 people, you're gonna have real conversations with 100. You have real conversations with 100. 10 of them are gonna move on from there. If there's an intermediary step, those 10 that move on, you're gonna close one, right?
It's statistics, man. It's baseball.
Right. Like it's highly conservative, but to your point, right? Most I'll use e-commerce. Like I got a buddy that works for PetSmart, and if he converts 3 to 5% online sales, that's a fucking killer of a day.
Yeah.
Right? And I think people lose that perspective because they think, oh, well, it's in person. If I go talk to you, no different than in my world, people think, oh, well, I told a co-packer to do one thing one time. They should remember it perfectly for eternity. That's adorable that you think that's the way the world works. It's never been, nor will it ever be. But you go talk to 30 accounts a week, and I'll come back to that in a second, and you convert, what's that? One of them, that's 3%. It's not fucking bad, right?
No, not at all.
So A, that. B, I think that's the other piece I want to call out, and I would love, if you have more background or context here, like 30 conversations a week, rough math at an hour a conversation, that's damn near a full-time job. It is a full-time job by the time you factor in your drive time from account to account, right?
Yeah.
And so I guess from your perspective, is that something where right now, like, are you guys setting that line that transparently with folks where it's like, hey, to do 30 accounts a week, that's somebody's full-time gig?
Yeah, so we put 6 brands in a rep's bag
Okay.
so that when they're out in the wild, we call it,
Sure.
and the accounts, they're working full time. They're working it. So we're like, come participate in the bag,
Right.
and we'll pitch you, and we'll convert that, and we'll share with you the outcomes of what's happening in the market.
Sure.
We tell our reps, by the way, if you're not hitting 20 to 30 accounts, because we do put the 20 in there purposely, because there's some
Sure.
some weeks that you may have to do tastings, longer drive, or whatever. But if you're not hitting that threshold, you're not going to convert fast enough, right? So we tell our reps we expect you to, do this. That's our agreement we have with our
Sure.
reps.
Sure.
And look, and we say clients will stick around if you're actually creating activity and you're getting results on the board.
Yeah.
Now the hard part is a client doesn't like to hear 1 out of 30. That, like, when they see that spreadsheet, no, they didn't like the price a whole bit. They start to get like antsy. They're like, what are they doing wrong? You know what a lot of clients do? They fire the broker and they go to the next broker.
Sure. Yeah.
They fire the broker and they go to the next broker. And I want to talk about this for a minute.
Please.
Bothers the shit out of me. Stop firing the broker and going to the next broker. Stick with the guy you have. Because when you start, the first inch is the hardest inch to open up the door.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think about, there's, our industry is full of analogies, and I'll try and make this one make sense, but I think it's again, you see similar things. I won't say they're the same, but you see similar things in ops, right? And I'm going through this right now. And I'm not saying that, and nor are you. I want to be abundantly clear.
Yeah.
We're not saying that if a broker or a co-packer or a partner is, abundantly underperforming, that you should stick with them indefinitely. That's not what we're saying.
1,000%.
Right.
I'll explain myself after you get through your thought, but go ahead.
But what we are saying, and I'm so glad that you brought this up, is the like, well, they didn't do it perfect the first time. Well, they didn't, their yield, in my world, their yield wasn't 98% the first time through.
Right.
How'd your kid do the first time you tried to teach him algebra?
Or ride a bike.
Or ride a bike, or fucking do anything. Like, it's a baby. Your brand's a baby, your product's a baby, everything's in its infancy. And so if you're coming out of the gates expecting, like, again, hey, 30 accounts, I expect you to close 27. Bye. Right?
Yeah, and that's what we talk about is like, if you're having those discussions and your gut tells you this is the right stop, just stop the conversation and say, hey, we're not the right stop for you.
Yeah.
They have those expectations. But back to this inch and open up the doors. My point of the broker, I was trying to write a story about this, but it's like it's kind of the first inch is always the toughest inch. Then the second inch, the second broker comes in and picks up a little bit more. Then the third broker comes in and it goes from 3 inches to 1 foot, and then the fourth broker shows up and blows the door wide open.
Mm-hmm.
And they get the reward. I'm not taking away from the final broker to the first broker.
Sure.
What I'm saying is the first 4 or the first 3 that hit there did the job, and they need some credit too. Because when you're a baby and you're new to market, no one knows who you are. So the first broker is actually introducing you to the market. Hello, this is Adam's Fine Juice, 12-ounce can. Boom.
Yeah.
They're like, I don't want you. 2013, I shit you not. Sorry for the cussing, but you made me just bringing it out of me. Tito's. You know who Tito's is?
I've heard of them.
2013, I leave Kellogg's and come back to Breakthrough Beverage Group. And I was the director of trade development. And I was so excited about Tito's. A guy named Eric Barnum was the VP of Tito's. I'd met Bertito Beverage. I'd seen him stuff in Delta Magazine. I'd go out in the marketing thing. We're going to just build this thing like that, man. We're going to rock and roll it the whole bit. I tell you, every account I went to, what do you think they told me?
Too expensive.
No, I don't know what it is. I'm selling Grey Goose. I'm selling Absolute. I have Smirnoff. I don't need Tito's. Thank you. Bye.
Sure. Yeah.
Fast forward to today, Tito's is the top brand in the world. The world, right? But that guy was resilient. He hired brokers to get distributors to pay attention. Sorry, distributors. Because what brokers do is they actually go in the market where the distributor's not. They go and they farm it. They seed it. They water it. And they build that account. And then the distributor starts to pay attention. And then it starts to cascade, right? But my point is Tito's was new once too. He was a baby. And we had to tell Tito's, this is how it works. You're going to get a lot of no's before you get a yes.
Do you think, and this is truly just me brainstorming, but like, we've talked before on the show, and I've mentioned it, it's been a minute, but I watch a lot of the Food That Built America, and they talk a little bit about
that History Channel? Yes.
Yeah,
oh my gosh, yes.
Do you think it's maybe there's a little bit of like a learning curve or a hangover effect in place? What I mean is, like, you go back 100 years, right? I'm not saying there weren't still big brands, but it was innovation was more of a novelty, right? Like, for obvious reasons. Technology was improving at lightning speed, products were getting safer, things like that, right?
Yeah.
Do you think there's a little bit of like a hangover learning curve of just people? You talked about people thinking like, oh, well, I have a brand, like people are just going to know about it. Yeah, maybe 100 years ago when there were only 4 brands on a shelf, but that's not the world of today. Does that make sense?
Go walk the beverage aisle and RTDs.
Right.
You're just
Right.
one among 100. No one
Right.
knows who you are, and the consumer's coming in and they're going to walk the shelf really quick. They're looking for a price, and there's proof of concept for most of those brands isn't there yet.
Yep.
It's not. So, It's just not real. But the problem is, you see things like George Clooney or Ryan Reynolds that they come out with this brand, and they think, or Michael Jordan with Sincero, the whole bit, or P Diddy, with Ciroc or whomever, right? But the point is they all think I'm a celebrity, so I'm going to go viral, or they all think, well, if I get distribution at Southern Glacier Wine and Spirits, I'm just going to automatically come out of the gates and be in 50 states, and my job is done. It just doesn't work that way.
Sure. So let me ask you another question. So going back to, say I'm a brand and I go, all right, Sam, like, you're going to put me in that bag of 6 brands and you're going to have 20 to 30 conversations a week. Again, from a contractual standpoint, like, how long should I be committed to that plan before we sit down and take a real in-depth look at updating, changing? Like, how long do we need to let it ride before we start making adjustments so that we have a good enough sample size to understand what we're doing?
I think it depends on the circumstance, in terms of the investment, also in terms of the market you're in,
Sure.
distributor. I mean, I think there's a lot of unknown variables in that. I don't think there's one right answer, but I'll tell you that we look at things 0 to 3, 3 to 6, 6 to 12. Okay. We also meet with our clients within that program through Frontline Beverage at least twice a month as a business manager.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We also communicate with them on their dashboard weekly, and we bring the sales agents, our partners, to a meeting with them at least once a month. So there's a discussion always happening. So
Yeah.
within that discussion, that team or that supplier can make a decision based on the feedback they're getting. And we certainly can be part of that discussion with them, because they're going to learn a couple things. One is, my price is too high, my price is just perfect, my product doesn't taste good, I don't have enough room at this point, but I'll get you in the menu in the spring. So it comes down to timing. We when we sign an agreement with our clients, it's a 1-year agreement. And the reason we do that is because we don't want disruption. You got to think about, Alicia always says this is a relationship business. People buy from people they like. They're not buying from your brand or Frontline. They're buying from that sales agent because they trust them. They're the ones that are opening up the doors. They're the ones that are sitting on the bar stools. They're the ones that are out in the wild making it happen. So you got to give them a year.
Yeah.
Now, to be realistic, of you're 0 to 3 and there hasn't been one box sold, that's a discussion we just got to say, okay, this isn't working. You
Sure.
go to the rep and say, hey, look, this isn't the right brand for you.
Sure.
So those discussions absolutely need to be had, because I actually firmly believe, if you do the math, because you're the math guy, if you're hitting 30 accounts a week, times 4 times 3, how many accounts is that?
360.
Okay, so look at that, the Rain Man. 360, and if you're converting one account for every 30, call it 2, how many accounts is that?
So if you're converting 2 accounts for every 30, right?
Yeah.
So every 30's 360 divided by 30's 20. No, Jesus. See, now you're putting me on the spot.
360 divided by 2, isn't it?
Well, so 360 divided by 2 is 180. So
Yeah.
so divide that by what?
4.
So 45?
No, so by 3, by 4 by 3.
Yeah,
So
45 to
360.
60.
Yeah. So within 3 months, you should have opened up 45 accounts. If you're doing your job as a sales partner, agent,
Sure.
you should open 45. The volume of that, the velocity, I don't know that. We're going to learn
Sure.
that too, because then that's the next tranche of data you got to look at. Okay, I've opened up 40 accounts. Did they order once? Because this is a very important, what I'm going to say right now. The 45 are not doing repeat, they're not doing reorders.
Right.
So of the 45, how many of those are converting to a reorder? Because that's when you start to really win. Right?
Yeah.
I opened up 45, but of the 45, how many have reordered in that 3-month time frame?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's around 20%, by the way.
Sure.
So let's say 10 are reordering. So in 3 months, I got 10 solid accounts. Those are gold, right? All right, so 10, 20, 30, 40. Within a year, if you have 40 accounts reordering your brand year 1 and they're reordering, and just say you have average velocity of 2,
Uh-huh.
Do that math now,
Uh-huh.
right? I
Mm-hmm.
know because you're scientific, right? So if you do that math, that's a pretty damn good launch. You
Yeah.
might have said, I always ask brands, I'm like, how many accounts are you in? 150? You know what my next question is?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I
What
do.
is, what's the next question?
What's your velocity? What's your sell through? What's your reorder? Some version of that. Yeah.
Yeah, my next question is how many have reordered?
Yeah.
And oftentimes they say like half of that,
Yeah.
50%.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the other 70 of the 150 or 75 don't matter.
Uh-huh.
The ones that are reordering, that's where you want to go play. That's gold.
Uh-huh.
That's where you want to build up. So we work with a brand like in Kentucky. I love this brand's going to go viral, by the way. William Brown and his brother Alex and Amy and Guilford, their dad. I love them. We're
Mm-hmm.
getting them into Georgia. They opened up 170 accounts. Like about 70 or 80 are reordering. And they know their data, the whole bit. And they actually know where they're winning. So I'm really excited about this brand because they know their data, they know where they're winning. And they
Sure.
opened up 170 accounts in 1 year. But it's just what we did the math just now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they went out and they worked the market
Sure.
a whole bit. So
Well,
anyway, I'm so passionate about it today. We got to get into operations the last few minutes, by the way. So we're gonna get off this my pedestal.
no, man, I think it all ties together, right? Like the song remains the same. It's just got a little bit of a different beat to it. So like,
Oh my gosh, a little Led Zeppelin, brother. Okay. I mean,
uh, but no, I mean, operationally, it's. So I threw something out the other day about this, like the the conversation that I had that I'm referring to was, a gentleman saying that he was discouraged by the fact that when he talked to some of these larger CPG firms, it felt very cookie cutter. The word he used was car wash, right? It felt very car wash to him of like, hey, they're just trying to shove me through this process, and if I don't fit that process, they're not interested in working with me. In fact, they're quite verbal about telling me why it's never going to work, period. Which, fine, I guess, right? But the point there was like, even as an ops guy, even as somebody who tries for safety, if nothing else, to live in the very black and white sections of our business,
yeah.
like you have to be at least willing to come to the table and have the conversation if you're in my shoes of, okay, like how are you trying to be innovative? Because as long as it's safe and as long as it's, not going to put anybody at harm, fuck it, let's have a conversation, right? I make the joke all the time of people ask me, hey, do you want to start a brand? No, man, I sell the shovels. Well, I can't make money selling shovels if people don't go digging for gold, right? So like,
Yeah.
I got to be willing to entertain those conversations.
Yeah.
And then everything we just talked about still applies, right? You talk about cost of goods. The and we've mentioned this on the show before, but I talk to brands all the time. Well, my co-packer, my tolling fee, like they got to bring that down. Oh, do they now? Right? Do you have any forecasting? Oh, well, no, we're way too early to have that. Uh-huh.
What
Have you
if you
done?
don't have a clear mind, a destination or a goal?
Uh-huh.
That's a problem right now.
Uh-huh.
Like you got to do a forecast.
So okay, you don't have forecasting. Well, have you looked at your formula? Have you talked to your co-packer about ways to make blending that formula easier? Well, no, like that's our formula. They just need to do it. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Have you
Yeah,
looked at?
just put me in a can. I'm going to go viral. It tastes really good,
Uh-huh.
and we're rolling.
So it's that, and then yeah, you get into the cogs, the forward facing cogs piece of it, right? And it's again, it all blends together. It's where I start, right? Like people love to talk to me, and most people are pretty nice and pretty understanding, but they're like, well, that cost of goods doesn't really give me a lot of wiggle room. I'm like, correct. Well, how am I going to factor in a distributor? For the first 2 years, you're not. Like again, for the hyper small folks that I'm often talking to, right?
No,
Um,
I tell people all the time. I'm like, you know who's going to be the salesperson? You are. Matter of
yep.
fact, one of them. He's working with you. He's out of New York,
Yeah.
De Jure.
Hmm.
And I'm talking, talking to Dejour and looking at his cost of goods and stuff. I'm like, hey, look, you're gonna have to be at this price. And I think I think he's thinking it through. I'm like, we're like, you have to go get your distributor. I'm like, well, how am I gonna do that? I'm like, we're probably gonna have to go get your wholesale license, by the way, your federal permit. Because wholesalers have a federal permit, by the way, everybody out there listening. And you can do that in New York because one of our other clients, is actually, she has her federal permit. And she can wholesale anywhere, by the way, and she's a wholesaler. We're gonna try to bring her in Georgia to help her with their inventory.
Yep.
But maybe I introduce her to Dejour, by the way, and maybe she can help them or whatever. Might be an opportunity to help her, help Dejour, the whole bit. But Dejour's cost of goods are pretty high right now.
Well, and that brings up the other thing, and the other woman you're referring to, if I'm picking up what you're putting down, we had a very honest conversation, and it's one I have with folks all the time where I said I always preface it with this. I always preface it with, I'm going to say some things that emotionally you're going to have an issue with. That's okay, right?
Yeah, we hung out with Mike Levison too long, man. He just tells everybody what it is, man.
Well, so a great example, right, is I see a lot of brands that'll use pure, like cane sugar, right? Okay, great. Sugar's not overly expensive by comparison to some, comparison to other materials, right? But if you're using a substantial amount of it, like, it can add to your COGS, fine. And so I'll tell people, hey, you could look at something like sucralose, right? It's a more cost-effective sweetener. It's got a higher potency, so on and so forth. And I preface it with that emotional comment because people hear the word sucralose and think, oh, it's bad for me.
Yeah.
You can feel that way. A, do your customers care, right? And B, especially when you're making an alc beverage, alcohol is also bad for you. Like, what, right? Or, even in the healthy side of things, like a younger gentleman I'm working with in the DC area, he's in New York now, but when he brought his original formula to me, he had a bunch of organic juices in there, and he was really interested in using organic juice. And I was like, hey, again, you're going to have an emotional reaction to this, but I'm just telling you something to think about.
Yeah.
It's okay. And I said, you're not making an organic product. You're just saying made with organic juice. He goes, yeah. And I was like, you could be saving like $2 to $4 a pound on those juices as raw materials if you just use non-organic stuff, right? He goes,
yeah.
Really? I'm like, I don't care. It is your call, but that's the math, right?
I know. Here's another brand for you, and I'll remain nameless, but you kind of work with them, and we're trying to get them into Georgia.
Oh,
And
sure.
I was going to come up to the place. I'm just talking in tongues here, but anyway, it was just too cold, and we got the flu running around here. But anyway, they want to go into Georgia, and I guess they've gotten to, or they're going to get their down 10%, and I think they're exploring malt, which I think absolutely love, because literally our partner in Georgia can get them into 3,000 convenience stores like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a real conversation they really need, because it's more about the branding.
Mm-hmm.
People, I don't think, please call me out. You guys can text me or whatever. I don't think the majority of the consumers are actually looking at the back of the can saying this is spirit or it's malt based.
Right.
They're looking at the brand and does it taste good and is it good quality.
Yep.
So if you can have a margarita or a rum and maybe it's malt based, you're going to open up a whole new world in terms of cost of goods. Or if you go low ABV, I just talked about it last night about the ABV, and I actually posted about it this morning. Low and no alcohol is really growing right now. It's a small percentage of the business,
Sure.
but it's a place to go look and hunt, because people are like, they're drinking based on occasion. They might have a full strength cocktail as their first cocktail, then go to a tea as their second cocktail. So just from a cost standpoint, if you have this cool brand, the brand we're talking about, why not go to mall and get into 3,000 convenience stores, right?
Yeah, it's still
the same.
Similar conversation, even sticking in spirits with again the group that we were talking about in New York. She's using real rum right now, and I said, have you considered GNS? And of course her response was, I really like using real rum. And I was like, okay, I'm not saying that's
a
wrong.
bias. I don't think the consumer cares.
A, that, and I don't have the answer, but it's a question worth asking. And
Yeah.
B, I'm like, your can doesn't say made with, real, wherever it's Jamaican rum or whatever it is. So either start marketing it or let it go, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Those, so I mean, I can imagine the conversations you have operationally. Have you had any breakthroughs? Do you have breakthroughs often where people are like, "Yep, the alarm bell goes off and says, Adam, you're right. Let's go that direction."
it's a good question. I think what often happens is, again, people have been very kind and receptive to my questions. I haven't gotten anybody telling me to, pound sand. Uh, but normally, and even Ryan, I think, can echo this point, with rocks. Like, normally when we have these conversations with people, it's, I hear you, but I want to try it my way first. Okay. That's 99% of the time that's what happens. And then I would say for the people that have the funds and the patience and all the things that you have to do to try it their way first, I mean, Ryan and I have a couple folks going through this right now where we're like, was that painful? Did that not feel great? Do you want to try it our way now? Right? And not in trying to be a smartass, I get that I have a Cheshire grin, but like,
Yeah.
just in a like, hey, we saw how that worked out. You willing to give ours a shot?
Do I know you'll do this? Do them a favor. The next client that comes on and says that says, "Look, I had five other clients that said the same thing, and
Mm-hmm.
out of the five,
Mm-hmm.
four of them failed,
Mm-hmm.
and it cost them X amount of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm telling you, it's a mistake, and that's what you're paying me for.
Mm-hmm.
Your gut may be saying that, but I'm telling you, this is what you need to do." And I just want to be really clear that you're going to
Mm-hmm.
spend $100,000 doing these cans and all this stuff as an experiment, and we have something we know that works.
Yeah.
So that's why you hired me here.
Yeah.
Listen to me.
I had so I have to share this with you. I don't think we've caught up on this. So where did I meet her? She was a referral from Chris over at Red Boot, Chris Slanga, our friend Chris.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
so he'll send me some leads from time to time just to folks that he knows aren't quite ready to work at that scale.
Right.
And so I was talking to this woman in Iowa. She owns a like a tea and herbal supplements shop, right? And from what I could tell online, like fairly foundationally organized business, right? Like the website looked put together. She's telling me she's going out to farmers markets and she does a good amount of business and both online and in store. I'm like, okay. And I asked her what she wants to do, and she tells me about this herbal tea that she wants to make in a can. And I mean this in the nicest way possible to the Danielle Gosses and every other mother of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Please understand, I'm not saying that you can't also start a brand because clearly it's been proven that you can.
Oh, yeah. That's a
But
brand. Yeah.
yeah, but every time I talked to this woman in Iowa, either she would miss the call and then email me and say, "Hey, sorry, my baby wasn't feeling well," so on, or we'd be on the call and the baby's just crying bloody murder in the background, right? Now, 'tis the season. Illnesses are going around. Again, this is not a commentary on her as a mother or anything like that. What it is commentary on is, I told her straight up. I said, "Hey, these are the things you're going to have to do, and you can tell me I have the time, my husband has the time, even though we have the kid, and if that's your answer, fantastic, let's go. But this is me telling you it's going to require a lot of your time, it's going to require a shitload of your money. So unless you have both of those things able to give and still live your life, I would strongly recommend that you think about putting this on the back burner." And we probably had 2 or 3 calls, and they peppered me with questions. And then we get on the third call, and and I said, "Okay, guys, like we've talked a couple times now, we've gone over a lot. I know it's been a lot to digest. Where do you want to start?" And all they said was, "We really appreciate your time. We appreciate how honest you've been with us. We just want to let you know that we're going to continue selling it at the farmer's market and kind of doing it small scale for now until we can save up a little bit more money, and then we'll call you."
That's great. I mean, I think that's really good. Hey,
100%.
can I shift? Can I shift
Yeah.
for the last 10
Yeah,
minutes
go
on a
ahead.
couple things?
Yeah.
I do want to get to safety
Safely sip.
for a few minutes.
Yeah.
I do want to get to confectionery candy that has alcohol in it. I want to get your opinion on that, by
Okay.
the way. And I want to make an introduction because I think there's something we can work on together on that piece.
Sure.
But I want to talk the first thing first for a few minutes, just a couple minutes. If we go a little long, it's fine. I'm just curious, and this
Yeah.
might be good for some people. the cost of freight is going through the roof.
Yep.
So when we move brand, matter of fact, I'm getting all these freight quotes from our friends at freight companies all over the company, but
Sure.
country. I don't know why they're going up. I suspect, and I won't go political why they're going up, but they're going up.
Right.
So if you're moving something from Washington to Georgia, I mean, some of our partners or distributors have to take in truckloads to get the freight down,
Yep.
and it's just not sustainable.
Yep.
So is there an opportunity around co-packers around the U.S.? Like we have partners like Earl Giles, Griffo Distillery, Dragon Distillery. We're getting ready to work with Mason Dixon, it's out of Pennsylvania with their RTD. And we're starting to understand these like co-packers, distillers, the whole bit. Is there an opportunity, rather than making a brand in Minnesota, is there an opportunity to actually make the brand in the West, make the brand in the Southeast, same formulation, same brand, but rather than having one central point where the brand is made, basically make the brand in the region where you're selling the brand to save the cost of freight? Is that something there with that? Is that an opportunity?
Oh God. Yes, and I'll try and keep this concise and brief because this is a question I get asked all the time. And shout out to Max and Karina with the Mad Lemon crew because we've discussed this with them. Yes, but I always encourage brand owners to think about it through a couple lenses. Like, for example, if you've never produced anywhere, you've never made your product yet, and you're looking at where to produce it, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. If you can find somebody in your backyard that is going to be, a local or regional producer that's really close to you, of course, that would be fantastic.
Do that
You also-
first, right? Build your market. Yeah, got it.
Yeah. That said, though, if you live in a place like a Southern California or a Florida or New York, what you may run into is that their minimums are too big, their costs are too high, so on and so forth, just because they are, right? That doesn't mean you shouldn't produce there because, again, to your point, you're still saving on freight. For example, especially this time of year, I just shipped a full trailer load from Chicago to Vegas with insurance, with freeze protection. So 20 pallets, technically it was 16, but 20 pallets for $4,800, right? Now that works out to, a few pennies a can, I think, which if you can do it isn't atrocious. But again, if you can do it, if you're producing at those volumes, if you've got the money to ship full trailer loads at a time, so on and so forth, right? The flip side of this story is often where I end up finding people is they'll be producing somewhere in the Midwest, and they'll be like, "Hey, we love our Midwest co-packer. They're great, but now we want to open up this other market, and we want to look at a California, a Florida, a Pacific Northwest, wherever." I'm like, okay. And again, I'm not saying that it's a hard no. What I am saying is you have to understand that that's two different facilities that you have to make sure are in lockstep, right? And so you can think about it like sports teams, you can think about it like your family, but if each facility has 20 employees, that's 40 people that you have to make sure know your product inside and out, upside and down, left to right. And they know exactly how to run it. And somebody's got to be managing all those conversations. And then you've also got, and I hear this from co-packers constantly, brand will come to a co-packer and go, "Hey, we're producing somewhere else and we want to come make some product here with you." And they'll go, "Give me a quote on this volume." And it's a smaller volume than they make at their primary facility,
I
right?
got an idea that I'll share with you later.
And
I think there's a huge opportunity here.
I know you know where I'm going with this, but the co-packer will go, "Okay, sounds great," and they'll give them a quote, and the brand will say, "Oh, that's far too high. I could never make it for that price. You've got to bring your numbers down." The co-packer goes, and then I get calls from the co-packer where they're like, "Am I crazy? Is this price absurd?" And I look at it, and I go, "No, it seems competitive."
Yeah.
And they go, "Well, the brand's telling me it's crazy." I said, "How much are they asking you to make?" They tell me. I said, "How much do they make at the other place?" And this is where the co-packer is like, "Well, I don't know." And I'm like, if I had to guess, it's probably double or triple what they're asking you to do, right?
Right.
So that's the other thing is when brands start to think about producing in multiple spots around the country, if you can't feed each bucket the same amount, you're going to have varying costs, and that is not the co-packing facility's fault. That is yours as the brand to resolve.
That's a great thing. I think there's a business opportunity to help brands that we'd love to explore with you on that. All right, so I'm going to shift to 1 minute on confectionery booze candy. So I talked to this woman. I'm going to work with her. I'm actually going to introduce you to her too because I think this might be like up. Is it the food ops guys? Is it Asa?
Asa and Johnny?
Johnny. I think there might be something there too because so she's actually in like 42 states. She does everything online. And basically, the Texas ABC told her that she's not alcohol, but yet when you eat this candy, it's like 60 proof. Okay,
Oh my
and
god.
they built a hell of a business. Actually, she's gone viral on like YouTube and TikTok and the
Oh,
whole
dude.
bit.
We used to, so I'll share a quick story here. So in high school, the town I grew up in, we had a lot of Russian and Ukrainian families in
Yeah,
town. And I don't know where they got them. I don't know if family members were shipping them to them in Iowa. I don't know if they knew somewhere locally they were sold. I have no fucking clue.
yeah,
But in high school, if you knew who to ask, they would have little chocolates with vodka in them.
yeah.
And they'd pass them out, and so you'd get, you catch a buzz midway through the day because they're handing out candies. And at first, they were fucking with us, just giving them to us, not telling us that there was vodka in them,
Yeah.
right? And then it became the like, okay, like teachers didn't know for the longest time, and then everybody kind of caught on, and they put a fucking lid on it. But
This
yeah,
one's a little different though. This is like a gelatin kind of deal, like it's like there's no, so it's all like
there's
she
no
has the
liquid.
formula. Yeah, so she's doing it in her
Okay,
kitchen with her daughter and her mom. It's three of them,
okay, sure,
right? They're shipping all over the country. So I want to actually, get a scope of work with her, and then I want to
sure,
introduce her to you, Az and Johnny, because because I believe that she can go like in a Total Wine and Bevmo pretty much overnight, but she has
sure,
to build it to scale. So she had a point where, I always talk about it, test it, build it, scale it, sell it, or keep it. So at the point, she's at the point where she's at the scale it phase. She's proof of concept. People are ordering her. She's has like 1 million followers. Like
yeah,
she's the real deal. But you're not going to be able to go to total nationwide in your kitchen,
sure,
right?
yeah,
So to be able to take that formula and actually replicate and get out there. And the cool thing is, according to what she's learned, it's just confectionery. It's
right,
not like it's not control. You can go direct. I'm like that, which is really interesting to me that she can do that. But she's applied to Shark Tank.
huh,
She's continuing to try to get on Shark Tank. Is pretty cool. So I'll connect you with her. So this
sure,
confectionery candy, I think there's an opportunity and innovation in our business in the
sure.
wine, liquor, and spirits business. Is remember we talked about occasions. Well, this is an occasion. I'm at the kids' soccer game, or what, I'm at Thanksgiving dinner. I'm just gonna eat my,
Uh-huh.
my bear here or whatever, and chew it up. And I have three of those. That's the equivalent of 3 shots. And she has an edible shot glass, by the way, which is like, kind of some cool stuff. So anyway, that's so
Super
give that
cool.
some.
Yeah, man.
The last couple minutes, I want to get your opinion. So I'm on this group, and I don't understand why people aren't taking advantage of this yet. I think he's close,
So
but
I mean, I'll jump in because I've talked to Jared a couple times now.
yeah,
All opinion on the product itself, the value in it, all that aside, and I can touch on that if you want me to. What I told him, and what I will echo here is, I assume the tooling, like the manufacturing equipment
yeah,
for something like that, is not going to be cheap. From
yeah,
a cost perspective, from a timing perspective, from a maintenance and repair perspective, from just
yeah,
a running it daily perspective, from a specking it out and making sure you have your tolerances understood. For like, there's a lot of variables that go into that, and for something that, don't get me wrong, yes, people cut their fingers, their mouths, whatever, on the lip of a can. Um, but I don't know that the problem for the people that have the money to do everything I just said has risen to the level of them being willing to spend it there.
got it. And then you have to do that tooling and everything you described, co-packer by co-packer, facility by facility. And you
Correct.
start to do that math, it gets really expensive for the people on the other end. It's almost like they should develop some type of mechanism where they could go in and install it at no cost to that co-packer.
Well, so it could be that, and I think this is part of the conversation I had with Jared. My assumption, just based on what I understand right now, is
Yeah,
it, it's like think about it like a you know what I know the XO ends, the resealable ends,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So those are made that way at the end facility, and then they ship as a finished end that can go onto a can at the co-packer. My assumption is that would be the goal for Jared for Safely Sip, which I would think is logical. The
Well, this
problem,
is so the top of this can, right? So this is this is a separate piece of this piece, and it gets stamped
hmm
on
hmm
to the thing.
uh-huh.
Does the how does this work? Is that already closed? Is it enclosed? Is the pop top enclosed on that when it stamps? No, it can't because they got to fill it. No, they fill it, then they stamp this, right? So you do the fill. This is stamped in. It's already closed.
So the this is real general, and there's a gentleman on LinkedIn, and I'm forgetting his name now, but he does a lot of really cool videos on the way that cans are fully produced. But like the can itself starts as a puck of aluminum, and they use a water extrusion to draw it out, right?
Okay.
Super cool. The lid is a single piece that's stamped from sheets of aluminum, and then the tab is kind of a secondary application, if I remember right, and somebody can please correct me if I'm
Oh,
wrong.
so the tab doesn't. So this isn't. It doesn't come close like this is closed. It doesn't come closed like this. This is the tab comes in at the facility.
So the let me see if I can say this concisely. When you order lids from Ball, right?
Yeah.
They come fully done, like you see them on the top of a closed can, and they just get
Yeah.
stamped and crimped onto the can.
Right.
What I'm getting at is when the raw sheets of aluminum come into like a Ball or a Crown or an Arta, right?
Yeah.
Those sheets of aluminum get stamped out with the base of the lid, and then that tab gets added on as a secondary application, right?
At the facility. So if you're at like Earl Giles or Griffo or
No,
Dragon.
no, Sam, at
Oh,
Ball,
oh,
at
ball.
Ball,
Okay. Okay.
right? So the
Okay.
lid itself and the tab get combined together at the aluminum facility at
Well, so
Ball
we
at
should go
Arta.
talk to Ball and talk to him about the opportunity.
So here's, and this is what I've talked to Jared about. You're not wrong, right?
Yeah.
Ball makes, I'm gonna say trillions of ends a day. I don't know, a fucking lot, right?
Right.
And so for them, like if I put myself in their shoes, having somebody come in off the street and go, "Hey, I want you to slow everything down, do an ass grinding halt to put this little piece of rubber, slow down one of your facilities, all of your facilities to put this little piece of
That
rubber
could
on
be
there."
millions of dollars, by the way.
It'll be millions of dollars in downtime just alone. And then who's going to buy them? Because they're going to cost more, just like the XO ends, right? So it's just like
Yeah.
being a distributor for a product. If you don't have customers already lined up, who fucking cares?
Right.
And I know that
So
sounds
it's a chicken and egg problem, right? It's
yes.
like, okay, so like I know he's been trying to get like Molson Coors, Coca-Cola,
hmm
trying to get it maybe written in as
hmm
like it's a mandatory thing or whatever. And look, I'm in full support of Jared, and I asked him here today to, come talk about it. We'll get him on the podcast so we can talk about it.
Sure.
I mean, I believe in what he's doing, but you know, you're right. You just got the economics of that. I'm not saying it can't happen because I'm fully in support to try to help
Sure.
him
Sure.
and meet that moment. But it'd be interesting to talk to someone. If someone at Ball is like listening to this, come on the podcast and talk to us about how it works. Do we know someone that can come talk to us?
So you know who would be really interesting to talk to about this? Joey Gamer.
Oh, okay. Let's get him back. Let's get him back on.
So I think we should get Jared and Joey on the same show because I
Yeah.
think Jared is probably going to echo a lot of what I've said, but he's going to be able to speak to a lot more of the details. Or a member of his team, right? But exactly, it's the economics of slowing down a facility like that. Again, no
Yeah.
different than, like I get the question all the time to this day. It's one of the first questions I got asked years ago, and I still get asked now. Hey Adam, when we go to production, can we make it so that when the cans are getting the lid put on them, that the tab lines up with the front panel and our logo, so that
Yeah,
right,
yeah. This one's pretty close, by the way.
right? I mean, it happens accidentally sometimes, but
Yeah.
my answer to that question every time is you have any idea how fast these lines are moving and how slow they would have to move
Yeah.
and the sensors you would need to be able to see the artwork, turn the can, place the lid, crimp it, like
Millions of dollars. This
millions
is
of
like,
dollars
yeah.
in time in slowing down lines to do that. If somebody's got the money to burn, be my guest, right?
Yeah. Hey,
But in 10 years,
art lids, you can actually see the label while you're drinking them.
yeah, yeah. So that's unfortunately that's the hurdle for Jared.
Got it. Well, let's arrange that. All right. So we went a little over. Any closing thoughts, Adam, before we rock on with our day?
Well, thank you to Kogs and Jay and Alicia. I'll answer your question in a second, and Josh and where'd she go? There's another young lady.
Jennifer was here.
Thank you, Jennifer, the woman you called out. So
Yeah.
Alicia, I will not be at WSWA.
She's the queen of beer, by the way, of draft.
Jennifer.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
she's
right.
well known in the beer community. A wonderful friend and
Good.
person.
I just connected with her. So yeah, Alicia, I won't be at WSWA. I'm keeping it a little bit lighter this year because I got some personal travel that's taking some funds. But if there's anything I can do to help you guys as far as presence there, answering questions, obviously I'm happy to. But no, closing thoughts. I mean, especially as it's frigid across the country, both personally and professionally, be patient, right? Like take your time doing stuff, do it right. Make sure you keep your pipes running. Don't let them freeze.
That's good. That's
Right.
good. For me, I just I felt like I wanted to just voice about the be patient is I guess the message. Trust the people that you hire
Sure.
to actually build your brand. Ask good questions, align with them in terms of expectations, and make sure that if you're not comfortable with it, with the person you're talking to, and they're not comfortable with it, maybe that's not the right stop.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
But have the conversation up front, don't have it on the back end.
Yeah.
Have it up front on the front end, and put it all on the table in terms of what's expected in terms of building the business. What I can promise you is pitches, and I believe that number of pitches converts. I can't promise you what it's going to convert to, but we can promise you that we'll give you the information,
Yeah.
the outcomes of what we're doing. And I appreciate everybody, Jay Williams, Jennifer, Robert. Thank you so much, man, and being here. Robert's weekend edition for Drink Up Podcast will break around noon today. So Robert, I did some editing on that, but I think it's gonna be really good. We'll call it the Melting Forest and IQ. We'll have to get those guys on the podcast with you, Robert. I know obviously Dave Martin, so we'd love to have him. And actually, he's the one that talks about proof of concept, by the way. So that's Dave's whole thing, and he could walk us through what proof of concept means. But he's an expert in the space and understands how to get distribution and build customers. With that. Happy Saturday, everybody, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, everybody.